Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My, female 23, dad had an affair while my mother was pregnant. And he and his affair partner Jen had Abby, female 22. My parents split, and my dad and Jen got together. I never grew up hating Jen and or Abby, thanks to therapy since I was 4, but I only saw them sporadically growing up. My grandparents, dad's parents, didn't take the affair well. Their relationship with my dad never fully healed. Jen is not allowed in my grandparents' house. Abby was for family events, but after Jen found out my grandparents were not giving Abby a trust fund, Abby stopped coming when she was 7. After that, no one in the family except me and my dad had contact with them. A couple of years ago, my grandmother passed away. Jen didn't attend the funeral, but Abby did. After this, Abby started coming to family events with my dad again. The most recent of these was an extended stay at my grandfather's main residence, which is in Italy. In that house are all my grandmother's personal effects, including her dressing room, which has remained largely untouched since her death. My grandfather allows me and my aunts to borrow things from her closet, but he's very particular about the state of the room being preserved. For example, we aren't allowed to sit at her vanity, which still has all of her old perfume bottles and photographs on it. We always ask before we go in, and we let him know what we're taking before we leave. So, a few days before my dad and Abby were due to leave, I came upstairs and noticed the door to the dressing room slightly open. I went in and found Abby going through the drawers. When she saw me, she froze, and I noticed she was wearing one of my grandmother's watches. Abby has been told not to go in the room, and to my knowledge, up until that point, she never had. I asked her what she was doing, and she stuttered that she was just looking, which obviously she wasn't, since she was also wearing. We were standing there in silence, both unsure of what to do, when my grandfather walked in and went ballistic. He noticed that she'd moved a couple of things in the room and was wearing the watch, and this made it worse. He said Abby had to pack her things and get out, and that she wasn't allowed back. My dad came back from lunch to this scene, and there was a lot more shouting. But eventually, my dad and Abby left to a hotel and flew back the next day. My dad is now angry with me, saying I hung Abby out to dry, and that I should have lied and said I brought her in there with me so that she wouldn't get in trouble, and that my grandfather wouldn't have kicked me out. I didn't know that he was going to kick her out, and obviously I didn't want that. But I also don't think it was up to me to lie about doing something I didn't. My dad and I usually talk most days, but he's replying to me sporadically now, so I'm starting to think maybe I'm in the wrong. Not the a-hole. Abby got herself into trouble, and she got caught by 2 people. It would have been darn near impossible for you to talk her out of trouble. Abby got what she deserved. Not the a-hole. So your dad expects you to throw yourself under the bus for your half-sister? What the hell? She knew she was wrong, but did what she did, disrespecting your grandfather's wishes. Your dad is a major a-hole, and so is she. Not the a-hole. You hung Abby out to dry because your first instinct in a surprise situation wasn't to lie to your own grandfather and take the blame for something Abby deliberately, knowingly, wrongly did, and you have never and would never do. Did he also blame your mother for his affair? Sheesh. I'm sorry, but your dad is a major a-hole. I'm 31 female, and my husband is 28 male. We were married for 3 years and have been divorced for a little under 2 years. He fell out of love with me. Before we divorced, my husband became distant and started to hang out with his work friends a lot, particularly his female coworker Jenna, 20s female, who is the boss's daughter. I'm not going to accuse him of cheating, but he was distant. I tried to spend time with him, but he would blow me off and then try to buy my affection with gifts. I didn't open them. I wanted my husband. My parents passed away from virus. They were elderly and not in the best health. My husband went to a work trip despite me begging him not to, got virus, and didn't come to the funeral. My in-laws were there but not him. That was the end of our relationship. I asked him for a divorce and gave him everything. I didn't care about the money. Some days I don't get the energy to get out of bed, so I work from home and don't eat for 1 or 2 days. I've lost a lot of weight. Recently, my lease ended, and the rent for my tiny apartment skyrocketed. I asked around if anyone knew where I could get an affordable apartment. My ex-husband contacted me and offered me to stay with him in his house. My ex-in-laws own rental properties and gave one as a gift for the wedding. I ran out of options and reluctantly accepted. It's weird. He used to be an affectionate crybaby back when he was my husband. He doesn't do anything really affectionate now, but he's very helpful. He makes me meals and keeps reheating, replacing it when it inevitably gets cold. He urged me to shower and heated new pajamas and socks so they'd be warm. I dropped a glass and he cleaned it up. He puts out outside clothes in case I want to get out of the house. His behavior aside from that is strange in other ways. His friends, some from work, come over for a get-together. I happen to see them come in. I don't interact with them anymore because of our divorce. I went back to my bedroom and Jenna and another girl came in. She said that it was making them, his friends, uncomfortable that I was living here. She asked if I could move out for his mental health and their space. I said no, I couldn't afford that. She reiterated that I was making them uncomfortable by staying, but I refused to leave. They left after calling me selfish. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It's between you and your ex. If Jenna has a problem, she should raise it with your ex. It sounds like you're dealing with depression, and given everything that's happened in your life in the last 2 years, that's not a surprise. Please look into getting therapy. Can you find anything through insurance? Long run, I think you should try to figure out how you can move into your own place. I imagine seeing your ex every day isn't helping you recover. Your ex invited you to stay. It is his house. But please do see about finding another place to live. You work from home, so you have some flexibility where you live. I do hope you are getting therapy. Staying with your ex will not be good for your mentality in the long run. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole, telling them no. It's none of their business. On a side note, he is being nice because he feels guilty. He may be a good guy, but he did take everything and was the one being distant. So he probably sees what state you're in and feels guilty. Do not view this as mending or hope on getting back with him. There is no affection for a reason. You need to look for low-income housing or assistance if you meet those criteria. While free is great, being in an environment of constant reminders of what you don't have is not. Get ahead of it and don't wait for him to ask. Also, consider asking for some portion of divorce splitting. Decisions made back then due to your state can be challenged if it comes to it. You were not, and still sound like you are not, in a state of mind to decide to split assets or not. I don't want to get back with him. It's uncomfortable because I can sense he does want to be affectionate. He touched my shoulders and arms and my hand a few times in the beginning before he realized I wasn't comfortable with it. But he keeps staring at me. A little background. About a month ago, my 19-year-old stepdaughter, Kay, stole $400 from my 17-year-old son's room. He was saving to be there for his friend's dad on the first birthday since his friend passed away. My wife refused to make her return everything because it would be embarrassing for Kay to have to return it all. My wife then lied to the police about the money, saying she gave Kay the money to save her butt. Kay committed petty larceny and got away with it. I told my wife our marriage was over. I didn't want to work it out. Her daughter is a thief she enabled, and she condoned her immature criminal behavior. 2 days ago, my son and I had to leave our rental. My wife and I split all the bills, but I can't do it on my own, so we'll be crashing on my mom's couch for a few months. The crappy part is it's almost 6 hours away from where we are now. Jay is a senior and has gone to school with the same group of kids since pre-K. He has to switch schools, but I told him I would sleep in my car for a while he stays with a friend so that he could go to the homecoming dance next week. Today I went to fill up my car with my emergency credit card. This weekend I have to drive to my mom's to drop the first load of stuff off so that I can safely live out of my car without raising suspicion. My card declined. I called customer service thinking it was denied as a security precaution because I haven't used it in months. It's truly an emergency card, but since I have $9 to my name right now, I had to use it. The rep tells me it was denied because it's maxed out, and if I want to use it, I would have to make a payment. My card was used at Sephora the same day that Kay stole Jay's money. She spent my $500 and Jay's $400 on ducking makeup. I asked the rep why I wasn't called because it was a suspicious charge, and I was told they tried. I found out the number on my account was my wife's. There was an online account for my card that I didn't create. I've kept my wife and I's finances separate. She was not on my card. I reported the fraud with the rep, but won't get the money back until after an investigation. I went to Sephora and pretended I was buying my daughter something, but wasn't sure what she liked. So after a few questions, they pulled up her beauty insider info. She is a rogue, whatever the duck that means. I asked what the return policy was, and then I left. I am so ducking furious. After a heated phone call with my wife, I was blocked. I don't know where they live, or I'd show up to get the crap back to return. My wife and Kay moved in with a coworker, who I'm pretty sure she was having an affair with. Once again, these heifers are living their life without interruptions, and it's nothing but heartbreak for Jay. I now have to go through our stuff to find some things to pawn to get gas to make it to my mom's, but Jay will have to come with me because I can't afford a second trip back. No homecoming dance with his friends because a sociopath can't keep her hands off other people's money. I put my wallet on top of the fridge the minute I walk in the door. I still have the physical card. How long does an investigation take? Since we are married, is she allowed to use my card? Or let her daughter use it without my permission? When I went to the police station for Jay's money, I was told it was a civil matter. The solution was that the officer called my wife to bring Kay to the station to talk. Sort of a scare tactic. But my wife straight up lied and said she gave the money to Kay. Should I report the credit card to the police, or will I just be wasting my time? We live in Nevada. Rogue is a loyalty rewards tier at Sephora for customers that spend over $1,000 in one calendar year. That would be fairly consistent with the $900 you suspect she stole. If your stepdaughter doesn't have the money to repay you for the theft, especially for the cash portion stolen from your son, which wouldn't be covered by the fraud claim, you should be aware that the window for returns is probably still open, but it is limited. Sephora offers a full refund to the original payment method for unused or gently used products returned within 30 days. Returns between 31 and 60 days are only returnable for a store credit, which still has decent value in the resale market. Go file a police report for the Sephora theft on your card. Use the police report to file a chargeback with the credit card company. Call the 800 number and ask to file a chargeback for unauthorized use. Usually a police report is not required, but in this instance, it will help corroborate your claim that it is unauthorized. By federal law, you are not responsible for any unauthorized transactions. Sephora will probably ban your stepdaughter's rewards account. It takes several days and can be denied. Go to the police again and file a report. Show that she blocked your number. Show the camera footage again. Show the account's activity, and they can go to Sephora to see the account information and see she used the card there. Pretty sure. It's how it works at my job. Get it all down in the police report so there is a paper trail. I cheated on my husband 3 years ago while traveling for work. It was a one-night stand, and we didn't exchange numbers or keep in contact. I don't even know his last name. Until last month, I've never told anyone about this. At the time I cheated, I didn't really care because my marriage was rocky and I felt unappreciated. But my husband and I reconnected during quarantine, and I started to feel extremely guilty. Last month, I thought I would try going to confession with my parish priest. He said I needed to tell my husband as part of my penance. I wasn't really sure how to do that, so I've sat on it. Last weekend, I came home to my husband throwing all my stuff out of the bedroom and trying to kick me out of the house. He knows everything. Apparently, the priest followed up to see if I'd told my husband, and when my husband said he didn't understand what the priest was talking about, he told my husband about the affair. My whole world is exploding because I thought confession was supposed to be private. Does the priest have any kind of liability or responsibility? Within the church, almost certainly. This kind of violation can lead to excommunication, especially if it isn't the first time they've done so. Outside of the church, probably not. The laws surrounding clergy privilege have more to do with compelling them to break confessional seals within the context of investigations and the like. The priest probably cannot be successfully sued for this. More importantly, it wouldn't be clear what you'd sue for. Your losses here are more firmly based in your own actions than in his disclosure of those actions. Certainly, his church and superiors may want to act on his transgressions in the context of the religion. Sounds like you got what you deserved. It just took a little while. Lay in that bed you made. I, 23 male, am the youngest of 3 siblings, and my sister, who is closest in age to me, is 9 years older than me. This past year, my father passed away. You can save condolences because he was honestly never a great father. We definitely grew up a pretty wealthy family. He was a good provider and was always busy working. Paired with that was his inability to express emotion. He drank a lot and wasn't the kindest to my mother or older siblings, but he was always very kind to me and definitely showed favoritism. By the time I was old enough to really see him for the person he was, my other siblings were already out of the house and had cut off contact with him and seemingly harbored some resentment towards me as well, in the form of trying to make me choose sides as a child, then ostracizing me for maintaining a relationship with my father. My dad made my last years living at home really amazing, and then when it was time, he paid for college and supported me through it, something he didn't do for either of my siblings. But from what I understood, he offered and they rejected. My brother didn't even invite him to his wedding. When my dad got sick about 2 years ago, neither of my siblings really showed any concern. Then, when he actually did pass, it was like pulling teeth to get my brother and sister to help with funeral stuff and even showing up. When my dad's final will was uncovered, it came out that he left a pretty substantial and life-changing amount of money to me, and he had only left a property for both of them to split. He left letters to each of us individually, and in mine, he explained his decision, and that ultimately, he was leaving the choices up to me, that if I wanted to share it, I could, but he didn't feel they deserved it directly from him. I wasn't able to access the money until the end of the calendar year, and as far as now, I've chosen not to share the money, as it was my father's wish. I've gotten some really nasty messages from both my brother and sister regarding my decision. But my thought process is that it's understandable to feel a way about our dad, but to not even give him the respect of your presence while he's dying, then expecting access to his money when he's gone, is ridiculous. Especially after spending years campaigning to get me to cut him off like they did. I've mostly ignored their messages and spoken to them very few times on the phone, because they are being really negative and manipulative. I trusted my mother in telling her how much he left me, which backfired when I found out she told them, even after I specifically asked that she didn't. So now I'm in complete defense mode to all of them regarding this situation. Not the a-hole. They were unwilling to accept financial assistance from him in his life. Why should they expect financial assistance from him in his death? Not the a-hole. Your relationship with your siblings probably will be over, but it sounds like even if you did share it with them, they would hold resentment still. This is what your father wanted. Don't feel guilty either. Concentrate on the fact that this money will help your own future family in so many ways. You pointed out that he wasn't a good man, but good to you. I think it's somewhat unfair to pass judgment against your siblings for not coming to see him when he was dying, when you don't know what kind of behavior he was engaging in with them when he was alive. Again, you stated he wasn't a good man. I don't like the whole stance about it was my father's wish, blah blah blah. People use that excuse a lot in situations like this, to take the responsibility off of themselves and not be the bad guy. Seriously, you did indicate your dad was not a nice man, and look what kind of commotion he has brought into your life with this decision. You quite frankly can't have it both ways. You can't be seen as a nice guy and not give the money. It just won't happen. Things don't work like that. It's your money now, and you're free to do whatever you wish with it. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't share it with them, but is it worth losing your family over? A family who has already experienced trauma from a not-so-kind man.